The sailing from Laggan Locks to Fort Augustus promised to be calm and easy, but we were a bit anxious of the 6 consecutive locks of Fort Augustus, and it proved to be one of the worst experiences of our journey. Just follow this episode and you will hear why. Finally, we docked at the lower end of the locks of Fort Augustus, and I was caught by a severe attack of the coronavirus. This is a video of my series Adventures with my Trawler Yacht Whitehorse, the Grand Banks 36. First, a short overview of this episode. We left the Laggan Locks at 9 a.m., giving us ample time to cross Loch Oich to the following part of the canal before reaching the locks of Fort Augustus. We had some rain, but the journey along the shores was calm and interesting. Before reaching Fort Augustus, there were locks at Culloch and Coitra to be passed. Then we had to wait for the locks of Fort Augustus to open in our direction. Already at the first lock, a big part of our stern railing was ripped off, which resulted in several $1,000s costing damage. We managed to traverse all the 6 locks and found a berth at the lower exit of Fort Augustus. There we were blocked for 3 days because of a severe attack of the coronavirus, which first laid me into the bed and a day later also my dear partner. The route of the day was just about 15 kilometers. We crossed first Loch Oich and then the Caledonian Canal to Fort Augustus. It should take us about 2 to 3 hours, but because of delays at the locks, it took us in reality about 7 hours. We left Laggan Locks having quite nice weather. We had only a little wind and it was 13 degrees warm. Also the journey through Loch Oich was nice and with some nice views of an old castle. The lock at Culloch was just opened that day, after having been renovated for some weeks before. Everything went smooth and we could enjoy the canal, including the next lock at Coitra. Did you like my video so far? Then I would be grateful for you subscribing free of charge to my YouTube channel to help me finance my work. Thank you. We reached the entrance of the stairs of 6 locks of Fort Augustus about 11:30. There were no staff members in sight, and no one answered the VHF. So we had to stop at the pontoons, and I tried to find out more. The operation seemed chaotic. Nobody could inform who was responsible for the locks, and when the operation would be restarted, as they seemed to have a lunch break. But there were lots of tourists that came by buses to watch the boats using the locks. We had to wait about 2 hours. Then the staff finally reappeared. We had to wait for a ship to move upstairs before we could do the opposite. Help was scarce, and staff was inexperienced. They seemed to be more occupied with the tourists than to give a service to the boats. And so it happened. A staff member urged me to move a bit forward, although my boat was still tied to the wall at the lock at the backside. Unfortunately, I did not reassure me first that my partner in the back was ready and complied with the instructions of the staff, resulting in ripping off a big part of our stern teak railing. The corner piece of a bronze even sank into the floods of the lock and was never seen again. Tourists had their show at my expenses. The staff member tied the boat again and disappeared. Through the rest of the locks, we had to ask tourists for help. This was a very disappointing experience. Looking at the damage, you can see that the teak railing was ripped in parts. The stern door was broken, me being lucky that the rear bronze hinge was still there. The railing was ripped off all the bronze supports and they were all bent. The support in the corner was also ripped off the teak base and it went missing in the waters of the lock. Also one of the supports at the port side was ripped off, but that could be held on. The port side door was also ripped off, but could be recovered. Home in Norway, the damage was estimated to be about $3,000. Finally, we had managed to get through all the locks and found our berth at the lower end at the entrance to Loch Ness. Unfortunately, these pontoons had no electricity for boats. In the evening, my condition deteriorated considerably. I had problems breathing and coughing was hard. Using our corona tests, I soon found out that I had been infected. The next 2 days I was forced to stay in bed with high fever. Having no electricity, we could not heat our boat and it got quite cold. My partner got ill the next day, and so we were both in bed and he had to keep it slow and try to keep warm. Although the damage bothered me, I had not the power to deal with it. This had to wait until I got my health regained. In the next episode, we will travel from Fort Augustus to Laggan Locks. There, I tried to find a provisionary fix to the railing. If you liked this episode, please consider to subscribe free of charge to my YouTube channel using your Google Mail account. And don't forget to press the like button. I hope to soon reach the threshold of 1,000 subscribers to get some payments from YouTube to finance my work on these episodes. Thank you in advance for your support to tackle this endeavor.